Welcome to Work from the Inside Out, a podcast that highlights real-life stories, practical strategies, and best practices for transitioning your career from unhappiness and dissatisfaction to fulfillment, meaning, and joy. Now here is your host, career and executive coach, Tammy Guler-Loeb.
Hey everybody, I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Jenean Merkel Perelstein. Jenean, as a socio-cultural anthropologist, has studied behavior change across many different cultures. From the markets and prisons of India to the boardrooms across America, Jenean has learned and implemented change strategies that have saved lives and made fortunes. Jenean is a business anthropologist, U.S. patent holder, and revered speaker who worked as a medical anthropologist before becoming CEO of Alchemy Academy, where she enriches workplace culture for clients ranging from solopreneurs to Fortune 100 companies. When not speaking, she mentors organizations to grow their workplace culture, develop their leadership skills, and achieve a higher level of positivity, productivity, and profitability. Jenean has created several programs in leadership development and workplace culture enrichment, where she provides training to clients worldwide and certifies coaches to use her models for their own clientele. This work supported by her book, Finding Your Lighthouse, a leadership guide to navigating change. Please join me in welcoming Jenean Merkel Perelstein. Welcome, Jenean.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to have you here. I had your husband, Scott, here, your husband and business partner, Scott, here several episodes ago, and he was telling me all about you and your partnership in life and in business, and I heard your story, and I thought, oh my goodness,
Perfect.
I must have your wife on the show. So here we are. Yes. And I am so excited about your background and everything that you're doing now, but I know that you've done a lot of other things even prior to all of this. I can't imagine that you're one person in one lifetime. No. Work from the inside out. It's all about all the changes and transitions that people have made in their lives. And so take us back to some of the earlier days and tell us about some of the earlier developments in your life and how they led you to where you are now.
Yeah, well, I always think that my path that got me to where I am today is a lot like Billy in the Family Circus cartoons. Do you remember these?
Yeah.
Where he goes out the front door and maybe he's on his way to school or something. He has one thing to do and he just takes the circuitous route in everything. And that felt like my path getting me to where I am today. I struggled a lot in the early years, starting out my career to find the thing that really lit the fire in me. And I was on several different paths. I went to 7 different schools in 9 years before I finally landed on where I was meant to be. And just kept hopping around thinking, is this it? Is this it? Is this the door that's going to open for me? And so it took some time. And I finally decided to take time off school and sort of find my spark. And I traveled for a bit, and I worked as a ski instructor in the Alps, where I met my husband, incidentally. I had been going to school for a short period in London. And so I traveled Europe, and then together with Scott, we traveled in India and then the Middle East. And it wasn't really until I saw some of the world that I thought, okay, this is interesting. This is a thing. I came back to the States to finish my degree. And when I looked at back then you opened up a college catalog, an actual physical thing. And I looked at, well, what classes really inspire me? Having had so many false starts, what's really inspiring me today? And I chose anthropology, and that was that was an opportunity for me to keep the things that I had seen around the world alive in me. And I recognized, oh, there are many ways to do everything, cooking, cleaning, loving, operate business, everything. There are different ways of doing things. And I wanted to learn what is the language of success across cultures. How do we know what works for us? Is it really determined by our culture, or could there be other opportunities out there for us to change our lens, to change our filter? So I stepped into that and went right on into grad school and ended up teaching at the university here locally for a while in sociocultural anthropology, medical anthropology specifically.
And we should tell people that you're in Arizona.
Right. Yes, exactly. And I was at Northern Arizona University, where I finished my degrees and then subsequently taught there.
Uh-huh.
And it opened up a whole new world for me. But that's where I found my spark.
Wow.
It took a minute.
Well, I just want to go back for a moment to 7 schools in 9 years. Was that all post high school, or?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
Okay.
I started out at the university that my parents said, you will go here, you will be a business major, you will,
Oh, okay. So
path that you're on. And that it was a quick path to academic probation for me on that path.
Wow.
It just wasn't my own,
Yeah.
And so I ended up going from there to Southern California. I worked at Disneyland for a few years and went to community college there. I'm a 3rd generation Disneyland employee in my family.
Wow.
So that seemed like a path that was fun, and it was. And then I went from there to Beverly Hills, where I was a hosiery specialist on Wilshire Boulevard. And then ended up being a ski instructor in the Alps. I mean, Tammy, I'm telling you, I went through a lot of different ways to look for me. I was finding me. I was finding that fire inside me, and or I was searching for it. Is what I was doing.
Love it. I love that. So, and I love the fact that you were 3rd generation employee at Disneyland. That just, that's just so magical. So, I'm just curious about those years when you were changing things and moving things around and trying to decide what was right for you. I think about how many people you might know or I might know who maybe also struggled in the same way in those, let's say, those 20-something years, right? And I don't mean 20 years, I mean in their 20s, right?
Yes.
And were trying to find themselves as you were, and maybe just after a while just said, oh, I'm just going to do this. And they just stuck with it, whether they liked it or not, and didn't keep trying and trying like you did. And then just sort of settled for something, or, maybe they met someone, they got married, they started a family, and they kind of just got settled into life. And it sounds like that was not what you did. You kept trying different things and making up your mind, you know what, this isn't it. I'm going to try something else. And I don't know if that was a painful process for you, or it was. Okay.
Yes, truly.
But yet you did persevere too. So there was a forward, at least it feels like there was some kind of pain, but there was also a perseverance or a forward thinking kind of energy to that too.
Right. Oh, it's absolutely fair to say. When you talk about settling and you paint that picture of kind of just landing there and sucking it up and doing it, I just get like a heaviness in my chest. It just feels so wrong. And I think that has always been that way for me.
Yeah.
Which is good. That was my self-preservation, probably, because I was bucking the system. I was going against what my parents wanted for me. At some point, after so many different tries and so many different majors at so many different schools, my dad finally said, you know what, you're a bad investment. I'm done. And so when I finally did go back to school on my term, it really was me. I had to really want it by then. And I did. And that's, that's a beautiful thing. And I think that my path is, I hope that it's uplifting for some parents who are seeing their kids struggle to land.
Yeah.
And they think, oh my gosh, they'll never be happy. They'll never be successful. They'll never find their footing, that sort of thing. And I think, they will. They will. Give them time. We just need to try. We got to knock on a lot of different doors.
I love that. And, who said that at 18, you're supposed to know what you want to do? And want to know what you want to do for the rest of your life. And most people don't do the same thing for the rest of their lives anyway. And, you made the entire world your laboratory, and you allowed yourself to go the route of struggle and pain, but then you also went the route of discovery and experimentation too.
Truly.
So in a way, you kind of experienced, it sounds like, what a great way to cure your pain, but to go skiing in the Alps. That's not too shabby a choice there.
Right.
Or you went to work at the ski areas in the Alps, it sounds like. And so, it's, I think Scott and I talked about Zermatt even.
We skied there. We worked in Garmisch-Partenkirchen.
Oh, okay.
In Bavaria.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. Just a magical time.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. So it sounds like you were making a lot of things. You were having an education all unto your own. It just wasn't in a classroom at that time.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
The lessons that I learned along the way have been incredibly valuable for me in the way that I guide my own clients, and even some of the subsequent hardships that I had once I did figure out my path. I'd love to tell you, I landed on anthropology and then it was all linear from there, but that's not even true. I still have, I've always tried things on for size, and some things fit and some things don't. I did a stint after coming back to the United States and postgraduate work. I was a CEO of a regional nonprofit here. And it's so interesting because during that time, I would look around and on paper, Tammy, everything was beautiful. I had made it. I had landed this, a C-suite job in this beautiful organization with a great mission and, 2 kids, beautiful home, beautiful husband. Like I had everything. And as time went on in that position, that fire inside me started going out. And, I was losing my mojo. And I recognized I may have stepped off my path, which is so hard to see when it looks good to everybody else. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And that's why this podcast is called Work from the Inside Out, because it looked great on the outside, but it wasn't coming from within for you. And it had nothing to do with the good work you were probably doing.
Sure.
It just wasn't working for you. It's like, in a way, based on your story so far, the only way you work best is from the inside going outward.
Always.
Yeah.
Yes. And layered on top of that at the time was a tremendous amount of guilt. I was subjected to the cultural shoulds, all of these voices saying, but you should be happy. You should like it there. You're doing such great work. If it's such an amazing mission, then you should be satisfied with that. Who do you think you are to think that you deserve more than this? And
who do you think you are?
Right. I mean, that took a fair amount of inner work.
Yeah.
And really looking at going back to what I had been learning all along, which was the language of success across cultures, across platforms, across disciplines. What makes one person happy from the inside and therefore successful on the outside in many different arenas.
Yeah.
And not just the one that culture tells you should be working in.
So you said it took a lot of internal work. What, and you don't have to go into details about that, but I am curious, over what period of time or what finally got you to sort of take that step away from that role and sort of honor yourself or be truer to yourself.
It's probably not a surprise, and it probably happens to a lot of people in that position, but I got really sick. I had gotten to a point where I was having a hard time dragging my butt out of bed in the morning, and people kept telling me, "Oh, you have nonprofits disease. This happens to everybody. It's just a classic burnout. You're working so hard, da da da." But I really felt like, no, something is wrong. And doctor after doctor was throwing their hands up in the air. And I finally got to a point where I did get a diagnosis that was going to require me to really have a good, strong look at my stress levels, my lifestyle. I had to slow down considerably and focus on myself, which is something that I was not used to doing.
Yeah, I bet.
I left that job and, I put some focus on, this is funny, but actually I had a beach bag that through the years I was throwing into the beach bag articles and books and websites of little like breadcrumbs, hints about things that I could do to enrich my inner life and do more of the inner work. And so I decided, well, if ever I needed that, it's now. So I took that on for myself. And then while I was taking on marketing clients and business strategy clients, just sort of here and there under a consultancy to cobble together a living, I started wondering, well, I wonder how much if this inner work is really working for me to get my own vitality back, and it was, I wonder what it would do for them, for their marketing plans or their business strategy or whatever they're working on. So I started weaving it into the outer skills that I was teaching people and the inner game that they were working on. And then all of a sudden, they weren't tripping over themselves 30 yards out of the starting gate. They actually could implement the things that I wanted. Because what I recognized, and I know what you know to be true, is that you could give somebody the best strategy in the world, but if they're tripping over themselves, as we do, part of the human condition, they're not going to get anywhere. And so that's when I realized I've got something here. I've got something of value. And so it was from that my entire coaching business was born. And today I'm one of the rare anthropologists that actually practices anthropology. In my day-to-day world, because I teach people about behavior change, which I've always done, and through the lens of the culture that is either supporting them or holding them back at any given moment. Oh,
that makes a ton of sense. So much sense, because when you think about, a lot of the research out there on things like employee engagement, or why people leave their jobs, it all revolves around the culture.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, there are studies now that substantiate kind of what we've known for a long time, that are saying that it's the emotional safety and the psychological safety that an employee feels at any given moment in their job that's the reason for why they either stay or they leave.
Yeah.
You can't have emotional safety without a supportive culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I see this all the time in my coaching practice too. People come to me and they start questioning things like, did I pick the right industry? Did I pick the right line of work? And they start questioning themselves and all the choices they've made. And when you start unpacking it, it doesn't even take very long to realize, oh, your boss is abusing you, or,
Right.
you're working how many hours a day, or,
Yes. Yes. Right. Right.
who called you at home at 11 o'clock at night, and, all these things.
Right.
Um,
Right.
who made you cancel your vacation? you know, so yeah. And you realize that there's just, they can't even discern whether they like what they're doing because they're so busy just trying to manage the dynamics in the environment they're in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's so frustrating.
That's what you do. You do a lot of that, both with individuals and then with organizations.
Right. Right. Exactly. Every individual has particular attributes that we bring to our behavior change world.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we look at those attributes on the level of the individual, and then we bring in other individuals and they have shared attributes, that's when you start having a culture. And so when I'm looking at a workplace or an organization or a team or whatever, I want to look at the individuals of influence, but also the attributes that they share with other people, and make sure that they serve the organization and the individuals in it, of course,
Mm-hmm.
causing obstruction.
Are there certain kinds of organizations that you work with more than others, within certain industries, or do you work with everybody and anybody?
Yeah, I have worked across many different industries. Right now, in the last couple of years, I've been doing quite a bit in the facilities world. And it's been wonderful in that I have had the great pleasure of going into some very well-known Fortune 100 companies, and have affected change in their workplace culture, starting from the custodians on up. So instead of change coming from the top down, I'm helping bring upon policies and strategies that the top really wants, but we're doing it from the bottom up. And it is, it's so, I don't have words for it, Tammy. It's so rewarding.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. When you have a conversation about human potential with somebody who has been told by culture that they're unvalued.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful, they will raise their productivity tenfold when they start believing that they are valued.
Right.
This is a big thing for me. It's my soapbox. I want for everybody to care, to bleep and care about the happiness of their employees.
Yeah.
Because it's through that they start seeing so many strategy changes that they probably wanted all along.
Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it. It makes me think about some of the stories that my daughter, who is just starting out in her career, she's still in her 20s, but she was telling me about, she doesn't work there anymore, but she was working at WeWork, and they have folks that come in to do a lot of the cleaning and maintaining the facilities in their buildings. And they've worked with them and elevated them to then work with the people renting the space and moving them into sales and all other positions. And she loved that part of the culture there, in terms of that that there was a real culture of treating everybody with respect, and really giving everybody a chance to move up or move into a new role and be empowered in that way. And that was a really valuable experience for her to see that, and to see that so early in her career. I thought was
Oh,
very,
it's beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah, because now if she ever steps into a real toxic workplace environment, she'll have something to compare it to.
She'll have some place she'll want to leave very quickly. That's what she'll have.
Exactly. Versus the client that you were just talking about who says, is it me?
Right.
What's wrong with me? That's what I had done in my, in my previous position.
Yeah.
Which is just horrible irony, because the problem was the workplace culture, but that I was like so close to it, I couldn't see it.
Well, I think that happens to a lot of us, though. Isn't that true?
Right.
That a lot of people, for a whole lot of reasons, stay way too long in a toxic culture or in an environment where they don't feel they have any control or don't feel empowered to make some of those changes. And they stay because they've got bills to pay. They've got, they have people they're taking care of, and they don't see their way out. And that's where someone like me comes in and tries to help some of them. But I understand that for some people that feels, really impossible.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Have you, Jenean, have you ever walked into a place where you walked in and you said to yourself, I'm not sure these people are capable of changing their behavior?
Yes, absolutely. And those are the clients that I bless and release. that there are some, I mentioned working with frontline employees. I also do quite a bit with high level C-suite employees, executive coaching and such.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: is that if an executive, the person or the group of people who are setting strategy in any kind of an organization, if they're not willing to look at their own inner game, to challenge their own limiting beliefs about not only what's possible for them, but what's possible for their entire workforce.
Mm-hmm.
If they're not willing to look at themselves, then I'm not willing to work with them. They are not my right fit clients.
Right.
And so really, the groups of people that I love to work with are those that just put it all out on the table and say, I don't care what it will take. We want to be a family coming to work here. We want to be singing in the shower in the morning before we come to work. That's the big litmus test. If you're not singing in the shower in the morning, then you've got some work to do.
Yeah. So when you think about those people who aren't singing in the shower in the morning and are really in the best position possible to be thinking about a change, whether they believe they are or not, what would be a key piece of advice you might give them if they're beginning to entertain the thought of making a change or a transition?
I start all of my clients out with the same exercise. And I'll give it to you in brief here, and I'll actually share with you a link where they can get this exercise and training for this exercise at the end. It's something that I call your personal strengths declaration.
Oh, nice.
And I mentioned before these attributes, these personal attributes that we have. And it's such a big deal because when we look at our successes that got us to where we are in many different areas of our life, and really do an inventory on them, we can also start seeing, oh, here's where I've maybe left some potential on the table, and here's where I've maybe gotten in my own way. Some of this work that we're not taught this in schools. Our parents didn't know to do it. We don't know they didn't teach us to do it. I came by it, through anthropology, and I'm blessed to have done that. But I think that the application then for an individual that's feeling like, I have lost my ability to be resilient here, I need to get that back. The first place for them to look at is these attributes that I will share with you in this training, but they are your attitudes, your states of mind or feeling about a certain thing, your behaviors, which are your reactions or actions to certain stimuli, your beliefs, which is your conviction in the truth of something, doesn't necessarily mean it's true, and then your values, which is these standards or qualities that you deem worthwhile. And so I have people look at these 4 different attributes in many different areas of their life. And again, I will walk them through this in the training that I will offer to your clientele, your listeners. And in doing so, you'll begin to see, okay, here's where my next step is. Here's where I need to do some work. Here's where my focus needs to be. It's a beautiful clarity exercise for that.
Wow, Jenean, thank you so much for that. That's a very generous offer. We will have all of that information available to people in the show notes, along with all of your social media links, your YouTube channel, so they can see you in action, and everything else, so they can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about your work. And I want to thank you for being here today. This has been absolutely delightful and magical.
It is quite magical. It's been such a pleasure. I'm so happy to know you and to be in your sphere and your world. And just want to wish your listeners all the very best for their journey and standing in their strength.
Oh, wow. I love that. I hope you enjoyed my interview with Jenean Perelstein. It was so interesting to speak with her to learn about her personal and professional journey. What is your key takeaway from our interview? If you are interested in any of the resources or links mentioned in today's podcast, you can find them on the blog page of my website at www.tammygulerloeb.com. Just look for episode 123. Are you anticipating your next professional move? Or do you just feel maybe a little stuck? Get specialized group and individualized support, insights, and accountability from a brilliant mix of professional women in a safe, non-judgmental creative space. Join one of my small hybrid mastermind coaching groups starting now on a rolling basis. You can learn more at https://bit.ly/navigating career change. If you were inspired by this episode with Jenean, please share it with your friends and colleagues. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Remember, subscribing is always free. Are you enjoying the podcast? I'd love to read your review on Apple Podcasts. It's easy to find through my website at www.tammygulerloeb.com/podcast. Just click on the Apple Podcast button and follow the instructions provided there. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, it's never too late or too impossible to increase your sense of fulfillment and satisfaction in your work and other meaningful activities. Let me know how it's going for you. I'd love to hear from you. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Work from the Inside Out podcast. For more information, you can find us at www.workfromtheinsideout.com.